And that's where the real struggle was.
During the mid-'80s, Eric Show was winning 15, 16 games a year. He had a sinker that dove for the dirt and drove the hitters mad. Yet even then, the complex nature of his personality could drive his own managers mad. Once, he had a no-hitter through 4 innings, then abruptly changed tactics.
And he said it was just too easy at that point to get him out.
Show frequently found himself in the eye of the storm. He was pitching in Cincinnati the night that Pete Rose broke Ty Cobb's record. And when he sat down on the mound during the celebration, it angered Cincinnati fans.
We wasn't trying to be disrespectful to Pete Rose at all. You know, that was an Eric Show thing to do.
We ask, please, for a moment of silence.
It was fitting in a way that this year on opening day, when the Padres decided to memorialize Show's years in San Diego, they chose not to show him gripping a 4-seam fastball, but his Gibson, as he played a jazzed-up version of Take Me Out to the Ballgame. Show was an accomplished musician and a born-again Christian who rarely hung out with the guys. Instead, on the road, he went to museums and read books, developing a reputation as a locker room intellectual.
There were times when I felt like I needed to get a dictionary out to pick out a few of the words.
He wasn't into golf or fishing. You know, he liked the guitar, and again, he got involved in politics.
When his teammates learned he was a member of the right-wing John Birch Society, he had some explaining to do. Some fans never understood.
A lot of people associate the John Birch Society with racism. And Eric was definitely not a racist human being.
But the charges of racism still hung in the air the next year at Wrigley Field when one of Show's fastballs struck Andre Dawson in the face. The benches emptied. It was an ugly scene.
It was a dangerous situation. You know, you got a crowd like that, a mob, and it was almost a lynching mob.
You know, Eric was human. And he just couldn't understand why he was constantly being tested. And when I say that, he felt that God was being tested him throughout his life.
But the greatest test was yet to come. By the spring of '92, Show had been through back surgery, a trade, and 2 disappointing seasons. And in the A's training camp, his behavior had become erratic. Then, one morning, he arrived with his hands cut up and bandaged, reportedly from climbing a barbed wire fence to escape from police. The A's put him on waivers. No one picked him up. The word spread. Drugs.
There still was a lot of surprise about his involvement.
If he had come to the park and he was wired on something, we would have known. But I never saw it.
The night that he died, he came to one of the seedy sections of downtown San Diego, where drugs are easy to find. He ingested large amounts of cocaine and heroin, which he then washed down with a 6-pack of beer. He was in trouble, and he knew it, and he called for help. He was taken to a drug rehabilitation center, but it was too late. You thought he was going to beat it?
Yes.
Did he think he was going to beat it?
Yes, he did.
A month before he died, Show checked himself into Rancho La Brea, a drug treatment center in the hills east of San Diego.
He was determined to get help. He was determined to get well.
Tuesday, March 15th, Show checked himself out and went home to see his wife, Caramia, and Elizondo. It was just hours before his final binge, yet he seemed like the old Eric Show.
As a matter of fact, we made an appointment to see each other Saturday at 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, I stood over his grave. I put a rose on his coffin and said goodbye.
Dan Locke for ESPN.
Of course, the Eric Show story, that of a complicated man in what is sometimes a system that works against complicated men, is not the only tragedy from that 1984 San Diego Padre team. Ironically, the high moment of the whole franchise's history, certainly in the context of what we've seen the last couple of years. You know about the tragedy of Dave Trevecchi losing his arm to cancer. And another story that really did not hit home in the same way that this did, perhaps. Alan Wiggins died of AIDS 3 years ago, I guess. And only one person from baseball attended the funeral. It's very sad.
Yeah, all the members of that 1984 Padre team. Still to come on this hour-long sports.